Hey, and welcome to the channel Dante Starshine. Thanks for tuning in again. And today is more of a personal video that I'm going to share about my experience with healer burnout. And it's something that I've seen with a lot of other people, especially in recent times. I know 3 or 4 other friends who were doing a lot of healing work and got to a point where something about the way they were doing that work had to change. And it has a lot to do with patterns of codependency, and I'm going to talk all about it. But before I dive into that, I want to share the live stream is going to happen on YouTube again this Thursday and every Thursday through 2021. And the private uncensored that allows us to talk about things that we can't talk about on YouTube happens this Friday and hopefully every other Friday, as long as we continue to get people signing up for it. So the channeling course also begins in October. The details on that are on my website. You can contact me to register for the private live stream. And now let's dive into the real content here. So if you watch my channel, you may have seen or noticed I didn't create or upload anything for like 6 months. There was a couple live streams, but for the most part I was quiet for a while. And I went to a very introspective process. And I went through some real challenges this year, and first of all, it was the challenge of moving from one country to another during COVID, and moving and leaving behind the community I had come to really feel a part of through these strange times, and felt nourished by. And my grandmother died, and I got tattooed, which you can see and may have seen before. It wasn't, that was a whole bunch at once. It was something that I kind of got hooked into. And after the first one, which I really loved, I was like, oh yeah, I'll do my other hand too. There's another artist that I like and I think could create like a sibling piece to the first one. And he started and I didn't like it, and I ironically thought, well, this guy's work is so good, I don't know why I don't like what he did. Maybe if he does more, it will be better. And it ended up being better, but it ended up being something that was a lot bigger than expected. I always wanted tattoos, but could never afford it. So once I had the money to do it, I was like, well, let's dive in. And then I ended up feeling like, well, it's too black. I want color. I want to be a colorful being. I'm so colorful and bright. So my tattoo should reflect that too. And then I ended up doing even more. And what I didn't know about tattoos was how long it takes for them to heal and how sensitive the body becomes to the sun. So I went right from getting tattooed to going to the beach, and I was struggling to protect myself for a while. And then at one point I got to a point, I got sunburned, and that caused my skin to have horrible reactions, and actually it affected my muscles as well. The inflammation was to the degree that I could not really move my arm, and my other arm as well, which wasn't as badly burned because it has less ink and it was older, still kind of froze up. So it was really, really challenging, and I had entered a new relationship, which was really the thing that I had wanted more than anything in life, was to be really close with somebody, and we were totally in love. We spent every night together. We moved in with each other just after like 6 or 7 weeks together, because we were already spending every night together. We thought we might as well share the room, share the cost. And it ended up, once I was in pain, he really wasn't capable of holding space, and he started judging me for not being the perfect being of light that I was for the first 2 months of our relationship. So I was really heartbroken, and then somehow, because my next destination in my mind was back home, I hadn't seen my family in 4 years, I decided to go follow through with the plan. even though I was heartbroken and in a lot of physical pain, and what I got to see there was my family really couldn't hold any space for me, and they didn't really know what to say or how to respond to me in those situations. And what that I then came to experience and understand was that I had been living in codependency for a very long time. So codependency is also, in a sense, what turned me into a healer, as my parents, in a way, used me for their emotional support as a child, and they got me to take their sides in their arguments with each other, and even involve me in, well, I'm saying now my family, not just my parents, involved me in legal situations where, as a child, I testified against certain family members, which I shouldn't have done because I was manipulated, basically. So going back was like a rehash of this whole story, and a way for me to really come to understand how I was still living that pattern out. Because I've been doing inner child work and processing and healing and clearing for so many years, up until the point of getting to a place where I thought I had integrated it, and I thought that I was this amazingly clear after all the work that I had done, and I felt great, but there was something deeper unresolved. Even before all of these challenges happened, I wanted to take a break, and maybe that's what I hadn't said, was that I went to the beach and I was like, I'm going to take a break now. I've gotten all the things that I supposedly want, and I've done really well supporting people. I did the channeling course 2 times. I have regular clients. I'm kind of in a good place with my service, and I just need to take care of myself. And ironically, once I start taking care of myself and having fun, everything in my life and my psyche kind of fell apart. And then I had to do a lot deeper work. And that work wasn't really fun at all. There was also situations involving cryptocurrency that I hadn't timed my investments well. I got this guidance from other people to do it, and then I put in a bit, and then it did really well, and then I was like, oh, if it does well, then I should put more in. Didn't time it well, and was in the red when the market collapsed, and not in a very financially insecure situation after so much work and so much success on top of everything else I was going through. So I was like depressed and having a hard time moving and doing things. Like I would just get frozen by emotion with the simplest of things. And so I actually entered into a mentorship with somebody else to move through it, as the people around me weren't really capable of holding space. And that allowed me to also deepen in my own work with other people, as I really got a sense of new skills and got to feel the dynamic of that one-to-one energy exchange in a relationship that is therapeutic. And I learned a lot, and I'm still learning and integrating a lot, but I'm in a much different and better place now. After those months, I came to move to Asheville, North Carolina, which I'd been hearing about for quite a long time, and it just kept popping up synchronistically in, the months last year in 2020. I kept hearing about it, and I'd been hearing about it even like before then, and it never really registered, but I finally got a sense of like, okay, well, if this is coming up, synchronicity is bringing this up, and I know interesting people I've met online there, and there's an entryway for me into community. I should try this out, because my experiences in Latin America also led me to think that, well, it's a beautiful place for me to travel. I need to connect with my roots, my origins, where I've come from, the culture that I was raised in, which is challenging because I have a lot of resistance to America. I'm very anti-patriotic, and I don't like the way that culture and society operates here. I'm kind of this alien creature that wants to do things differently, and like all of the ways of functioning in American society are just, they don't make sense to me. But I've landed in an amazing intentional community. I can just give you a sense of like a little bit of the area from this balcony where I've been doing a lot of my sessions, but it's just a ridiculously abundant setup with other people who are healers and on a conscious path, which is something that I've always thought would be great and didn't really see how it would manifest. But now I've got to this place, and anyway, that's all the story. So what is the medicine behind this story is essentially I've come to see the part of me that was seeking validation from the work I was doing for others, and recognize that by being this empathic space holder, I was also getting a payoff emotionally, just in the sense that by being the person who's there for others, it gives me a fulfilled sense of self. But I was using that fulfillment that I was getting from helping people to cover up my own personal needs. And I wasn't actually fulfilling my own personal needs. So there was this like back and forth between me, who is this abundant giving channel of light, and the me that is this dark, isolated person who doesn't get other people and doesn't get society and doesn't understand why things work the way they work and feels pretty alone. And I've had to learn how to connect with that part of me and bring that part of me more to the light, because that part of me has needs that really weren't being fulfilled. And in a way, I was keeping a lot of people at a distance, or it's like the only people that I would engage with over these past years were people that I would help. And I would help them on this emotional level, and I would often get material reward, as in it's my work, but also people in my life would, take me out or give me places to stay or yada yada. Like for years, like I was this vessel for energy for other people, and that's how I got through. But people weren't meeting me. And so I have two other people in mind. There was a third person who shared a similar experience, of how they totally and completely burned out. Somebody, one of my friends was doing energy work and teaching people energy work for many years, and got Lyme's disease during a toxic relationship, and was incapacitated and suddenly lost the desire to do work that was that intimate in its nature. And now is moving into something that is really fulfilling to her soul, working with sound and sound healing, rather than getting up in people's fields. A friend of mine was working with plant medicine and decided to take a step out of working with other people's energies, as he would get sick holding space for somebody, holding space for people and taking in all their energies and having to process it for weeks after. And another friend of mine doing readings got really burnt out and went on their own journey that then in the same way brought codependency patterns up. So all of these stories were really about this codependency and the ways that we as healers have been somehow using our work as a way to attempt to fulfill ourselves, but not really getting in touch with that deep sense of what it means to be fulfilled on our own, doing what we need to do for ourselves. So for me, it's this shift into stepping into more vulnerable spaces in community and in relationships, and showing up more for relationships and relating, as well as getting comfortable again exposing my shadow. And if you follow me also on Facebook, you see that world that I've been sharing, which has been really scary to go to. But I find that because Facebook is like the place where kind of my professional life and personal life blend, it's safer to do it there. I didn't want to bring that to YouTube or to Instagram because I got a sense that it wouldn't really be productive to the growth of the channel until I really integrated what I was going through and let it be something that I could share and glean wisdom from. So, yeah. Just had a moment. Got distracted. Let me tune back in. I like to shoot all these videos in one take because it feels a lot more authentic to me, but my mind doesn't always follow the flow as well as it otherwise might. So beyond all of that, at a point where I'm at, beyond all of that now, what I've really learned from this is how to keep my energy for myself. And in this process, I would just notice when I was around people that were not as deeply present with themselves, that would be draining for me. So I just needed people who were willing to feel what was uncomfortable and kind of heavy, because the people who don't want to feel that and don't want to go there, they want your attention, they want to suck your energy in, but they don't want to give that exchange back. And just something about being in that field of the unconscious people who hold a lot of density, I would feel their density and my density would get a lot worse. And for me, it was manifesting as physical pain at the time. So depending on who I was around, my pain would get better or get worse. And I would notice that, wow, the intensity of my pain has everything to do with who I'm connecting with. And hopefully you don't have to get to a place of injuring yourself to figure that out and to realize that even without necessarily pulling on you or asking a lot of you, if people are in a state where they use you as a distraction from themselves, that's draining your personal energy. And it isn't helpful. Even if these people are your family, in which case it was for me, then there is a need to take yourself out of those situations to return to a sense of connection with yourself. And then there was the growth and evolution from people who were really able to hear me and able to process and able to show me myself. There was also so many layers of guilt. Like in situations where I didn't feel as if I could help others, something was wrong about me. Because basically, as a healer up to this point in my life, every single relationship I've been trying to help somebody fix something, and I presented myself in that way, like, I'm a healer, so let me heal you if you want. But I was incapacitated, so I couldn't do that for people. And there were situations in which I was like, wow, like if I was in a clear state, I would just go fully into this with people. And instead I found myself taking their energy in and making mistakes and then feeling horrible about it. And then I got to learn about this emotion of guilt more. And I already knew that guilt is a synthetic emotion, meaning that it is not something that is necessarily helpful to feel, unless guilt is there to serve us when we've made a mistake. So guilt is this correcting emotion. Oh, we've made a mistake, I feel guilty. And then we correct our mistake and the guilt should go away. But then guilt becomes this thing that we feel even without making mistakes, basically because of our conditioning, in which our family shamed us or guilted us over not being the thing that they wanted us to be, and not being there for them, and not being this emotional punching bag, basically. So that emotion gets lodged, and it's like whenever I'm not perfect for other people, this emotion would come up. And I came to understand this trauma response and understand that there's nothing wrong that I'm doing by being myself, and that I'm not here to solve or fix anyone's problems unless it feels exciting for me, unless it feels really authentic for me to jump in there. And hopefully, and most of the time, if there's a reciprocal exchange of energy, then I'm there for it. But the truth is that everyone wants your attention, but not everyone wants the help you can offer. Because as healing is feeling, in order to really help somebody with trauma or intense pain or intense negative belief systems, right, which are the result of trauma, trauma and negative belief systems are two sides of a coin that always coincide. Where there are negative beliefs, there's trauma that has informed one of those negative beliefs. And where there's trauma, there is something negative that you've learned yourself about, that you've learned about yourself as a result, that is really what we need to undo and untangle from in our process of feeling and clearing. So if people aren't really willing to do that work of feeling, there's literally no point to the help that I or anyone can offer. And what I've come to learn is more of how and when is it actually right to go into somebody's field like that, and when is it better to step out and remain in my field. And I also learned in much deeper ways, not only is energy something that's exchanged between people, like I already knew as an empathic being, I can feel other people's vibe and I can feel what they're going through, but people bring out certain things within me, and a lot of those things I'm feeling is my stuff, but they are bringing it out. So when people are in certain energy dynamics, and we can look at this as attachment styles, like the avoidant, anxious, or the fearful avoidant, which is the blend of both anxious and avoidant. Those energy fields impact everyone around them, and certain people, depending on where they're at, will bring out certain things in me. And some people, while I was in these states, brought out the craziest parts of me that were so attached and so wanting to pull, and some of them made me feel like running away, and some people, would make me feel so much tension. And it was nothing that they were doing, because a lot of these people were offering their kindness and love and support. It was just the way that their energy is set up. And I've come to a place where I can really feel in my body what energy I'm being offered from the other, and if I really want to engage with the other, depending on how they're going to impact my field. So evolving from this stage for me has been everything about releasing patterns of codependency and recognizing that I do need, well, first of all, there's the recognition of the need for others, because a lot of people shame needs, that every time you need something from another, that's codependent, and that isn't true. We do need emotional connection, but it's codependent when we are willing to hurt ourselves for the connection, when there's no differentiation between helpful connection or a hurtful connection. So stepping out of codependency doesn't mean you meet all of your needs on your own, because there's certain needs that you can't literally meet on your own. It means that you, first of all, recognize the difference between needs that you have to meet on your own and needs that others meet for you, and then you recognize who actually meets those needs and who doesn't. And really, I've learned that I can't actually do the work at the level that I want to do it without a support system in my life. And for me, that looks like having community around and having intimate relationships with people that are really empathic and connected the way that I am. So it's been such a journey, and I've learned a lot of lessons, and I'm really not through the complete dark night, you could say. I'm through most of the emotional parts of it that prevent me from stepping into my work. And when I started channeling again, that was like a huge wave. I mean, I never stopped channeling. I was channeling for private clients who I'd already established a relationship with, but I wasn't seeking new people, and I wasn't seeking to put myself out there. So when I started publicly channeling again, that did allow for big waves of energy to come through me and into me, and it was like, wow, like, being of service is the best way to be of service also to myself, because we all are one. And when I'm giving and sharing, then I'm also opening myself to receive that energy that I need to share, and also energy from others. And it really opened my heart and made me feel amazing. But the time off was necessary, and the time off allowed me to step more deep into myself, so that I wasn't just defining myself by what I could do for others, but instead I was recognizing the complexity of everything going on inside me, and that all of those parts of me were valid, and every single need was valid, and that everything that I do in my life, from what seems very sacred to what seems very mundane, to things that I will never mention on this channel because I'm sure spiritual people have hang-ups, and I'll just say, I've got a wild side. So all of those parts of me are really valid and really interconnected, and without one of them I would not be the complete, whole, holistic being I really am. And so that's been my journey, and I've seen other people go through similar journeys, and for those other people I can say it's, what I've witnessed from them, it's involved cutting cords with people that don't serve. It has involved retreat. It has involved changing up the work so that what you're doing in your work really feels good and feels fulfilling, and you just want to do that kind of work anyway, regardless of who receives it. And as well, some people have gone through even more intense initiations of seeing, the ways that they let other people in and take advantage of them. So it's a powerful journey to step back into oneself. And I think, what I've seen on my journey is that the same themes and patterns repeat and repeat, and we go through cycles of seeing how the same dynamic that was our trauma is informing different behaviors. So I don't think we're ever done healing the way we've been programmed. I think that we shed layer by layer, and we start to realize that that pattern still exists on another level. And so I don't ever want to say we're completely done cleaning up codependency or narcissism or attachment issues or what have you. It is a perpetual journey where we see deeper parts of ourselves playing out that pattern, and we learn to love and hold them and bring them into ourselves. And it requires that you stop numbing. It requires that you put away your distractions. It requires that you also detach from the way you want to be perceived in order to get in touch with what's actually there within you. And when you can do that, you own your shadow, you own your bullshit, and you own it without identifying it as all of who you are, but you get real that here this is, and I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love it for myself, I'm gonna love it for the collective. And I share this from a space of hoping that people really are beyond this idea of the perfect teacher, the perfect healer, the perfect person, that we don't even want to be perfect, and we especially don't want to look for people who are perfect, because the people who portray themselves in that way are usually the most flawed, and they're usually the ones trying to rope you in to playing a dance with them, and use that idealized sparkly thing that happens when you see somebody who looks perfect on the outside use that energy for their advantage. So watch out. There's still a lot of that out there. There's still a lot of healing we all have to do. And when we do that healing together, it's really potent and really powerful. So that's a bit of my journey. I haven't shared anything that personal on this channel for a little while. So in sharing it, I hope that you guys benefit from it, and let me know what you think. And remember, live stream channeling Thursday, private channeling Friday, and channeling course October, available for one-to-ones and also for coaching, as find the work that I do at a personal level reaches different parts of you. And a lot of the people that have come to me for channeling now work more with me on a one-to-one basis, where I'm channeling my higher self without closing my eyes and tuning into the Pleiadians and letting them take me over. I'm just here, I'm just me. And there's a lot of wisdom there too, so all of it's available. Anyway, much love, many blessings. Thanks for watching this. Really appreciate everyone tuned into this channel and tuned into what I share. So all my love from the depths of my heart to you, and hope you have a brilliant, fantastic day.